Uh-oh. That was weird. I think we're live. Are we live?
Yes, sir.
It's your fault. Every time you show up, power goes out. Is that what's happening? Are you messing the power up?
No, I'm good over here.
You got a little generator? You get a boom. We're gonna get a little that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go fund me and get you a generator. We need you to stay, man. We need you here. So Jason Wilson, people who don't know, nobody's here yet. They'll be here in about 30 seconds. Uh, CEO of Circle of Friends Club. How are you today, my friend?
Man, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on the show, man.
Man, it's always fun. Again, people hear us talk about or they see glimpses of cross promotions and collaborations, and man, they don't get it. There's no way in hell I could do what I do without supporting and helping other people, right? And we'll talk about this soon, but I mean, think about this, man. We had the oncology, right? So you had that one last time, Freedom Fight
Right.
Oncology. I had my buddy Rochelle Proser. Um, we all get out there, then guess what? Right? Then we had to pitch in, stuff happens in life, but it was so much
Yep.
fun to just come in, help people out, right? We were able to bring it forward. And that opened it up. I was there, I stayed in, there was hounds, there was non-hounds, friends of the hounds, but the relationships there, people connected, opportunities abound. And you can't do that solo. And even if you plan, you can't plan those opportunities. You just have to be in a position for those opportunities, man. So this is what I
Absolutely.
mean. Anybody out there, you got to plug in, talk in the comments, chat with each other, man. Plug in with this. Now Tennille's doing stuff with, James Valentine and all
Yeah.
kind of good stuff's happening, man. Now she's rolling with you guys. We'll have Tennille Jacobs up here. We have Sarah O'Brien, right? Yeah, we let her
Yes,
back.
sir.
Yeah, we're a graceful bunch, right, Sarah? All right. And so let me show you this. This is goofy because I lack the Canvas skills, right? So I was like, man, I didn't want to put stuff on here, but I can do this. I can do this Atari skills here. But this was just cute. My little 5-year-old Emma, Jason,
uh,
he she just, hey, daddy, those are flowers. I'm like, nah, those are weeds. So I went to pull some of them and I pulled the whole root up. Right. Anyway,
okay.
she came out. Yeah, when I walked in today, she had put them in my dad beer mug, and I just thought that was just cute. I thought I'd share.
Nice.
I know. That's what I need, some more allergy problems, but hey, it's all right. So let's see who we got here. Oh, wow, dude, we got Yolanda.
We got a whole
Wow, I
bunch
was
of people in
wrong.
the chat.
I know, I'm sitting there going, nobody shows up. I was wrong. Michelle Ramos, Lewis, daggone, man, Jackie. Up,
My
there
man
she is,
Matthew
living with
Thomas is
intention.
here.
Is he?
Yeah, Matthew Thomas is
See,
here. Russ
oh,
Hodge is
there's Earth
here.
Mama.
Russ Hedge.
Earth Mama. Oh, living with intention, April Wyatt. Thank you so much. She's the first Hounds ambassador, which I need to go ahead and say since people are here because they came to listen to you guys. All right. Scan the QR code if you've been at least 3 months. All right. What we're doing is a rotation. All right. People who come into the pack, all right, the Hounds of Business community, you know, they just get involved. Right. They help each other, they push each other up, they're hungry, they're ready. Then hey, this is your shot. We're taking a handful. We're going to have a meeting in the next couple of weeks. So go ahead and scan this. I'm going to close it by Friday. So I'm not going to take any more applications. There are exceptions can be made. So if you just want to do it and say, well, I'm like 2 months and 12 days. All right, go ahead and scan it, right? Nobody cares. Seniority doesn't mean that much to me. All right. What matters is that you're ready to rock. You believe in pushing other people up, right? And that profitable reciprocity. You give to others, they give back to you. You keep that game of ping pong going. That's how you grow your business here. So anybody who's interested in doing that, let me know. And hey, any strays out there looking for your pack, hey, welcome home. All right, we don't judge here. We just push people up, and we're here to help support you. And here's why. All right, here, lots of people, tons of people. You know the stuff we complain about, like injustice and food insecurity and all the bad things in the world out there. I truly believe this. This is what we stand for. If if thousands of us, not even millions, thousands, good, heart-centered, high-level professionals, if we had the time, money, and freedom to do what we want when we want for as long as we want, then we can make a serious dent in stuff that matters, right? If I can just spend the next 40 years dropping money, pushing people up, I'd rather do that than work to pay the electric bill, right? So that's what we're here for, guys. All right. Hey, all boats rise. We're pushing each other up, but we want to make a major impact in the long run. And we're getting a lot of amazing people coming into this thing, making it more amazing. Don't be out there. Come check it out, test drive it, right? Like you try on clothes before you buy them. Hopefully you date before you get married. Same concept. All right. If it's not for you, I'll walk you somewhere that belongs better for you, better fit. All right. So we just want to say, hey, all call. All right, no more strays. And on that note, you got anything to add? You got any weeds on your porch or anything you want to bring up, Jason?
I don't have any weeds, man, but I do have exciting news. Um, Originally, we did all of our events and everything related to Circle of Friends Club on Zoom and recording everything on Zoom, but we have switched to everything on LinkedIn Live. So I'm proud to
Nice.
announce that this coming Freedom Fight Expo will also be a LinkedIn Live event. None of my speakers know at the moment, so I'm going to make that announcement early in the morning.
Hey, I tell you what, if you like to, the Hounds, we will restream that thing, man. We'll put it out there for you, brother.
Awesome. That'd be great.
You know it. That's what we do here. So I tell you what, let's run this intro. Let's get this party started because we got a lot to talk about, and this will change lives, man. So I'm all about it. Let's do it.
Thank you, sir.
Are you looking to grow your network and your net worth with other high level, heart centered professionals? Then grab a seat and your favorite beverage and join Mike Asherbranner, the Redneck Connector. It's time for the Hounds of Business Community Happy Hour.
All right. Wow, man. Look at the comments bumping. You guys are too good. I tell you what. Thank you very much. It's coming out to support everybody. Man, there's chasing forehand. All right, buddy.
Hi,
I,
Jason.
I,
What's
look
that,
at him.
Chase?
You can even
Yeah.
you can even see his smile in the little tiny picture right there, man. You know it's there. Right? All right. Matthew T is here. Oh my goodness gracious, man. I should have popped. I gotta put that chat up in a minute. All right. So go ahead, do us a favor. Not everybody may know you or they haven't, seen you. We got tons of new people in the pack. We got friends of the hounds here. So Jason, why don't you start us off? Tell us what Circle of Friends and Freedom Fight's all about, brother.
All right. So, Circle of Friends Club, we are the compassionate support for anybody that's suffering from PTSD, depression, anxiety, and suicide ideation. Every month, we have this special event called Freedom Fight Expo, in which we feature 10 speakers, phenomenal dynamic speakers. Sarah and Tanil are also one of our dynamic speakers at this event coming up on September the 20th, 21st, and 22nd. This event is for PTSD and suicide prevention, as it's Suicide Prevention Month. So, originally we did all of these events on Zoom and it was a recorded event. This time, however, it's going to be a LinkedIn Live event. So this will be broadcast on my LinkedIn page as well as on YouTube. So I'm excited about that. It's going to give us a much more broader audience. And this message about suicide prevention is something that I want to be able to reach people all over the world on. I mean, so many people are suffering from this. And we got children now from 9 years old that are killing themselves. So I'm really, really passionate about this subject, and I want to reach as many people as possible.
And somebody just I don't watch the news. Somebody just told me there was another school shooting, man. So again, this is not a game. This is a serious issue, and this is why I have been hammering this. I mean, I've done a mental health show or something like every day, like every week for the last 2 months. Because if we're not okay here and here,
Mhm.
nothing. I mean, nothing else is gonna be okay. When we get okay and we're happy and we're able to give back, right, and we're okay inside, we can do a lot more. And that's what I love. This is about pushing people up. So I'll tell you what, Sarah, we'll go to you because all of you ladies have an interesting component. This is going to be an amazing. I mean, they're all amazing, but I have a feeling this is going to be like next level freedom fight right here. So tell us who you are and what you do, Sarah.
Oh, I'm Sarah O'Brien. Thanks, Mike. I am the Chief Mental Health Officer of Circle of Friends Club. And so I partner with Jason and on our Freedom Fight Expos and a number of our other initiatives and things with our memberships. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. by trade. That's what I do day to day. I have two businesses. Thrive and Shine Counseling is my psychotherapy practice. That's where I spend most of my time. And have been there 8 years. And more recently, Thrive and Shine Coaching and Consulting is my other business. And that's where I get to do things like partner with Jason and other mental health advocacy and trauma informed principles and practices, types of events and education and things like that.
Yeah, so you deal with this kind of stuff from that side of the factor. So you have licenses, experience in helping people with trauma and these kind of things, and that's amazing.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right, thank you for what, because that's not easy work. That's like
No.
fireman work. Like
No.
that's mentally exhausting. It
Yeah, I
absolutely
appreciate you
has to
saying
be.
that. I think it gets missed. It's like, yeah, we're not running to an actual fire, but man, when your client comes in and is suicidal, it's a crisis all of its own. Yeah, that requires precision attunement. That's for sure.
Yeah, and mentally exhausting for you. So you probably have some good tips to handle that. If you can handle your job and still do it, then yeah, share that with us here in a little bit, okay?
I
And
will.
by the way, when it comes to meditation and some practical applications, that's why we have the one and only Tennille Jacobs. How are you today?
Hello, Mike. Lovely to be here. Oh, I'm so excited about this event. I really am. So, for those who don't know me, my name is Neil Jacobs. I am a trauma-informed holistic wellness coach and co-founder of Moon Mated Meditation. So a lot of my practice kind of really revolves around meditation and mindfulness practices, as Mike spoke about, in terms of really trying to get people in touch with themselves as a form of holistic health, because a lot of our healing actually comes from within us. So I was really excited. It's so funny because this Jason invited me to this talk on our first meeting. He told me this was coming up, but we had a conversation, and we started talking about our experiences. And I mean, I've had an experience kind of like what prompted me to get into the practice that I have was I postpartum depression, and I was actually quite suicidal at the time. Um, so that's my own experience that I did get on medication, but then mindfulness was really the game changer for me, and realizing like how much of a difference that has made kind of inspired me to want to let people know that this is something that they can do too, in this realm. But we ended up talking about my history, my experience. I talk a lot. and,
Yeah,
and
man.
and that's when Jason kind of
But
Jason
I
kind
mean, it's all good stuff though.
of
Keep it right in, Neil.
I
Don't
don't.
Yeah.
worry.
I don't talk too much.
All right, Mike.
but ultimately, that's it was as we were talking, then he told me about this talk, and then I went on a whole thing like, oh my gosh, PTSD, da 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 da. And well, that's I guess where the invite came from, because there was a whole other like aspect that I kind of discussed in regards to that. So that's why I'm here, and I'm happy to be here. It's exciting. This has been an amazing place. Hounds is amazing, Mike. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Mike.
Thank
Love
you
the
for making
hound.
it that way. You guys make it that way, man. I'm just Dr. X, man. Y'all, I'm serious. And by the way, real quick, when you said that, my daughter, a couple of years ago, when she was like first grade or something, my wife brought me in, and the teacher was like, she talks too much. And I'm like, for what? A mom? If she was, yeah, I mean, but if she was like the ambassador to the president or something, or like that would, and my wife, and I was like, that's why you brought me, because you knew this meeting was going to go in the toilet. That's why I'm here. Because I'm like, why would you bring me to a teacher? Yeah, that's why. She's like, she can't sit still. I'm like, I'm a grown professional man. I can't sit still either. So we like, anyway,
I'm with
sidetrack.
you.
You knew this was going to go in the gutter, right? All right. So let me ask a serious question for everybody leaves. Jason, I'll start with you, and ladies chime in. All right. So, what inspired? Because I never even heard this or asked this, and it may have been a long time. What inspired the creation of the Freedom Fight Expo? I know you told us what it was, but what was it with you? You're the driving force behind this. So, what happened that made you go, "I'm going to do this"?
This is a good
Well,
one.
yeah. I mean, okay. We got time for me to tell this.
Right? This is a good
Yeah, we
one. I
do.
know the story.
All right, I'm going to tell this story, and this will actually be the first time I've ever said this on a LinkedIn Live.
I believe
So,
it, Jason.
yeah,
This is a good
hold on
story.
to hold on to your hats. So, I have to go back to 2011 when this happened. At the time, I was running a speed dating event, actually company here in Columbia, and during that time, we had more than 200 couples that got married through this business. But anyway, at that particular year, my wife was pregnant with twins, and twins is a huge deal in my family. We have more than like, I think there's 10 sets of twins on my dad's side of the family. So, if you can imagine all the excitement and expectation about this birth, well, about 6 weeks into it, my wife has a miscarriage. And so I went into a depression, and I really didn't want to do anything work wise. And at that time, I hadn't heard from my mom in like a month and a half, which was really unusual. My mom and I were really close. So I said, okay, let me give her a call and find out what's going on. So she answered the phone, and I said, hey, how you doing? And she said, Jason, not good at all. And I said, oh, something's wrong. And at the time, she had this boyfriend, and this particular gentleman was practicing black magic. And so he would do stuff like take her to the ATM, withdraw all her money.
Mm.
So the rent wasn't getting paid, car note, none of her bills, and everything was stacking up. So obviously, she had a tremendous amount of stress due to this situation. And she couldn't really talk because he was there in the background listening to the conversation. So I hung up the phone and I said, okay, Lord, show me what's happening in a dream. I'm sure all of you have had a lucid dream before. And if you
Oh yeah.
haven't, a lucid dream is something where you're in a dream and you're totally aware of what's happening. You have control over all your senses, and it's just as real as if you're in the physical realm, right? So I had this dream, and I see myself at the top of this building in a city downtown someplace. I couldn't really recognize the city, but off in the distance on top of this building, I see this huge bus, which was completely out of place. And it was full of people. And it started to fill up with this turquoise blue water, like you see at SeaWorld, or like one of those water rides that you take at Six Flags or some other place like that. And all of a sudden, the bus starts teetering on the edge and it falls off and hits the ground. So I go down to the street level and I see the bus. It's all practically destroyed. I open up the door to the bus, and all this turquoise blue water starts to gush out. And I can see all the people inside that they're dead. And I see my mom at the back of the bus, and I pull her out of the bus, and I wake up. And I said, dear Lord, I don't know what's going on in Atlanta, but I need to like get on a flight now and fly home and see what's going on. So I get to the airport, and red flag number one, the boyfriend picks me up at the airport in my mother's car. That happened. So I get to her house, and from here all the way around to here, all of her hair has fallen out. And I said, I don't know what kind of stress she's under, but it must be something horrific. So at the time, there was this TV show out called Snapped. I don't know if any of you have heard of this show, but
Oh,
the
yeah.
premise of, yeah, you've heard of Sarah.
Yes.
So yeah, so the premise of the
Seen it.
show, yeah, good. So the premise of the show is that the husband or the wife finds out that their spouse is cheating on them, and they come up with this elaborate way to kill them. So my mom and I were watching this show, and at the end, she says, Jason, do you see this cup sitting on my nightstand? And I said, yeah. And she said, do you know what's in it? I said, no. I thought the thing was empty. It's been sitting here for like 2 or 3 weeks. And she said, well, take off the lid and take a look inside. So I take off the lid and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, Mom, what is this? And she says, if you hadn't gotten on the flight when you did and gotten here to Atlanta, I would be dead right now from drinking this. And she goes into the story about this other episode that she saw on Snapped. Well, this lady finds out that her husband is cheating. So to kill him, she makes antifreeze with Coke. He drinks it. Not even 24 hours later, he's dead. So she said, if you hadn't gotten here in time, I would have drank this. It's antifreeze with Coke.
Mm.
And you know what the color was? It was turquoise blue, the same color of the water that was inside the bus in my dream.
Oh
So
my God.
yeah,
Right.
so the interpretation of it is the following. So all the dead people that were inside this bus were suicide victims. So, this event that's coming up September the 20th, 21st, and 22nd, it's a very, very serious thing. And I want to be able to reach as many people as possible and have as much support as we can get from corporations. Whoever wants to sponsor it would be awesome to help us to spread the word. But God is
Wow.
really, really serious about helping people that have suicidal ideation. So that's where the whole idea about Freedom Fight Expo and Circle of Friends Club comes from, is from these series of dreams that I've had that has basically converted me into a spiritual dream coach. So as a spiritual dream coach, I help people to interpret spiritual dreams. And
Wow.
beyond that, the Freedom Fight Expo wasn't supposed to happen until 2025. But this past December, I had a conversation with the Lord. I was on a fast at the time. And the Lord said, do not wait until 2025, start now. I said, okay, how are we going to do this? And he says, start online. He said, there's no barriers to, who can participate in the event. Anybody can participate. I said, yeah, that's a wonderful idea. So I think, when you have inspired thought, an idea, or an action to take from the Lord, listen to that idea. Don't doubt, don't delay, take action, because that can lead possibly to you saving lives in the process, and it will lead you to the accomplishment of your dreams and goals that you have for the future. So that was my message in the newsletter that I just wrote this past weekend. If you didn't see it, go to my LinkedIn profile and check it
Wow.
out. It's a powerful message. It's actually the story of how I actually got to Columbia in the first place. So that's the whole mission behind Circle of Friends Club and Freedom Fight Expo.
Wow, man. Thank you for sharing that. Again, this ain't just something you put together to do or to make money or nothing, man. This
No,
was something that found you. Yeah, that found you, and wow. And again, you could have just said whatever and ignored it, but you took action on it, and now you made it to this thing that has an impact of helping many, many people, brother. So I think it's unbelievable. Let's dive into it because I want folks to know. I want them to plug in and come into it, especially now that it's going to be on live, right? And it's
yeah,
open even to even more people.
right.
So let's get into that. Um, well, first of all, how does this expo address the needs of different types of trauma survivors? Who wants to take? Sarah, you want to take that one, or
Actually, both of these ladies could take this because they're both speaking.
okay, not all at once now. Hey, this ain't the place
Yeah.
to be nice and
Ask your
quiet. You
question.
gotta jump in.
So I was expecting Jason to answer it. So ask him
No,
again.
no. Actually, you ladies could take this. We'll start with you, Sarah.
Ask the question again. So I'm fresh.
Yeah, okay. Let me say, you got to act like a hungry dog that has one bowl of food and five other dogs around you. That's how you got to
I
act here.
grew up
Yes, sir.
like
All right.
that, trying to get a second bowl of cereal. I just told you I had two older brothers. I know
I was
exactly what
gonna
you're talking
say,
about. Okay.
you grew up with brothers, so yeah, act like you're
Yes.
at home when you're 12. Yeah. So, all right, here's the question. How does the Freedom Fight Expo coming up, how does it address the needs of different types of trauma survivors?
Okay. I'll speak from like what I know about it. Well, we're talking about, various types of trauma, including PTSD. And I'm specifically highlighting CPTSD, which is complex PTSD, which is a little bit less known. And it's not what people think about. And it doesn't exactly fall into the definition of PTSD. It is different. And it has some serious negative impacts on somebody's life, so to echo to Neil, I live and walk around with CPTSD every day from childhood and developmental trauma, and it is not fun, and it's hard work. I'm working on it myself in therapy, and so I'm on both sides of this coin, which is, how I basically relate to all my work with other people, right? Like I can see both sides of I'm the patient and the practitioner, I'm the student and the teacher at the same time, all the time.
Right.
And so I understand the plight, I guess, right, of walking through a world with an invisible disorder, and then also being in a profession that helps people with the same invisible disorder, and to navigate that, it really is quite an interesting synergistic kind of experience that I have at work. but it's isolating, it's lonely, it's difficult to maintain relationships when you have trauma reactions and responses. Sometimes it makes it difficult at work, especially if you have to interact with people, which, geez, almost everybody does,
Right.
even if your work is virtual to some degree. And that it really has an impact on how you relate interpersonally, how you communicate, how you process and manage your own emotions, what that looks like, how that comes out at people, and at this point, I mean, they were saying it a long time ago, but certainly like in the early stages, if not there soon after the pandemic started, they're coming out to say basically everybody experienced trauma with that. I mean, to have a worldwide, pandemic, it's, I mean, that we haven't had in over 100 years is, yeah, scary. It affected a lot of people. And so now we're talking like on a global scale, this is something that affects people. We need to have the conversation. I mean, it's been around for so long already. Like, it's embarrassing that we haven't had the conversation enough already. From where I sit, I just live and breathe this stuff all day. To not be talking about mental health and trauma and how to like make that better for people is just beyond me. How are we not all having that conversation all the time? And so,
Great.
yeah, I want this message to get out there. We're going to be talking about how trauma and those reactions responses lead to suicidal thoughts, ideations, attempts, and completions. It's a thing. People have lived it. People have experienced it. We know tons of celebrities people could name that have completed suicide. It is something that still happens. And if we just want to like sweep it all under the rug, like it's not going to do anything. I know it's painful. I know it's not pretty. Sharing my own stuff is like scary. Anybody knows that, talking about my own mental health stuff. And as a mental health provider, Jason knows this. Like, I didn't want to do this in the first Freedom Fight Expo, and he talked me into it. You heard his story, Mike. Like, how do you not then? How do you not just like
Right.
step into that and then share your experience too out loud in the public? And so I did, and it's all with the same mission that Jason has, that people do not feel alone, that they have a place to go, and that they know that help is available, even if albeit sometimes difficult to access. And the more we can talk about this, the greater access we can create too. There are so many barriers in the system the way that it is, that if we have a wider conversation, we start bringing it to different markets, and it's not just living in our little mental health world. We get more eyes on it, exactly like Jason's talking about, sponsors, eyes on our event, then we're changing the landscape in treatment availability and access for people, and reaching the marginalized and disenfranchised, which, is sometimes not what you can see on the outside. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not.
Absolutely. Well, you opened up two major things. Thank you for sharing that, because it's not, there's how trauma, right? PTSD and other trauma that affects personal relationships. But I'm going to start off with Tennille. The stigma behind this, right? There's still a stigma, right? And you kind of help break that stigma, like a stigma breaking advocate, maybe we'll call it. So, what is your take on the stigma? Like, why do people not go out and get the help? I'll put it this way: if my car starts making a funny noise, if I can't figure it out, I take it to a mechanic.
Yeah.
If my head starts doing stuff I don't want it to do, I go to a therapist or something, right? Like,
Yeah.
why is it not the case though? Why is it still taboo? What do you think?
Well, I do think it's just a matter of people not thinking it's as serious, because it doesn't seem, shall I say, physically painful, if that makes any sense. People are able to, sorry, my bedside alarm just went off. Sorry, people are able to recognize, my arm hurts, for example, right? And I always say this to my friends: you'll recognize symptoms of physical sickness, right? Whether it's coughing. But with mental health, we get so used to, because we're not living in the present, because we're not even in tune with our bodies. And I speak about this a lot when I talk. We brush it aside, or we don't recognize it as actually being a potential symptom of needing to get that checkup done. So I think a lot of it is not even necessarily stigma. Well, the stigma definitely plays in, because you don't want to accept that there could be something going on mentally, because then that means that you're broken, right? Like, there's something wrong with you and it can't be fixed. And that's absolutely not the case. Right? There's
Exactly.
nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. And quite frankly, you just don't need to be fixed. You need to figure out what needs to, how you can get back to you, because the you inside you, right, is a whole you. but there's all this, and this is where the trauma comes in. So for example, in the talk that we're doing, and I'm so excited about this event, I'll be very honest, I'm very excited. Because one of the part that I'm coming to the event with is kind of talking about how trauma can manifest from different experiences. And I'm using my home country of Zimbabwe as a social example, right? Because part of the reason that this stigma or these stigmas tend to exist is sometimes whole societies can be experiencing trauma. Right. And this is like we've just mentioned now with COVID, like the whole society experienced the trauma. And because everybody has it bad, you don't want to seem like that person that can't handle it. Right. It's like everyone else is so strong. So that's part of what kind of builds on that stigma. It's like, because we want to belong ultimately, we want to connect ultimately, we don't want to be different. Right. And so that's why I think a lot of people will ignore and pretend to be okay, right? Or think that they can't be, there can't be anything wrong with them because someone else next to them is having it worse and they're handling it well,
Comparison.
It's all of those things that kind of go together. And that's why I'm so excited, because Sarah pointed on, touched on a very important thing, which is the access to support, right? And a lot of times people also, there are limits, society, there are limits to access to support, to be very honest. I mean, I'm in Canada, and even though we have universal health care, when it comes to mental health support, there are still major limits, right? So when it comes down to oh, my brain's not working right now. Sorry. So when it comes down to what I like about the more holistic approach, April, who's one of the speakers, I wonder if she's still, I know she was in the audience a while. She will actually be giving some practical advice on how you can kind of help yourself go through these things. And that's what I like. That's what I love about this. You're going to understand it. You're going to see the different forms that, trauma can come from, but you're also likely going to leave with practical tools that you can start here, even if, say, you can't afford the mental health support. You can incorporate into your day to help. So there we go with my babble.
I love it. Anybody chime in? I know y'all got thoughts now. Don't be shy.
I agree with like everything Tennille had to say. It was like beautiful and perfect. Honestly, like, yes, I absolutely, like, that's, I think it's like she nailed it on the head. People and people do this sometimes with physical things. Like I think in my grandmother was terrible about going to the doctor for anything. She was just like, no, want to ignore it. Don't want to find out what's wrong. Don't want to find out if I have cancer. It's like, okay, but you could do something about it. No. So like this happens with physical stuff too, but eventually it's like functionality is a little bit different when something hurts for too long. Like you can't do the things you want to do. And it's I think exactly what Tennille is saying. It's not the same kind of mindset or concept around like what you can't do mentally. People, if you have a physical injury, it's like, oh, it makes sense. I can't do that. My arm is broken, but if you're having trouble due to like a traumatic experience or just, having a diagnosable mental health disorder, anxiety, depression, bipolar, anything else, it's not that bad, kind of like what Tennille is saying. Like, I can't see the dysfunction in my life. I cannot see where it is actually negatively impacting things because this is just how I move through life. You do notice if your arm breaks and then you're moving through life different, and so I think there's like a piece of that is, it's hard to know if you're functioning different than before, because I think a lot of things with mental health, in particular trauma, it's a slow burn. It doesn't all change at once. Like, it's not like, oh, the arm's working, oh, it's broken. It's like, it's a fatigue and a wear and tear over time. And that's also makes it difficult to notice. You get used to it. It is with an injury, right? Like you compensate for it, and then that's just the way things are. And then the way it's depicted, not helpful. The fact that if it's accurate, not helpful. And the fact that it's not available for everybody, also not helpful.
Right.
And the fact that people that it is helpful, I don't want to talk about it, or the people that have issues don't want to talk about their issues, also not helpful. As I sound like a broken record here, but I think part of all of this conversation is bringing awareness, which destigmatizes, also the normalizing, like, oh, like, and I almost did it myself, like, oh, I just can't focus as much
Yeah.
anymore. And I just can't, what it's no, like you need
Something.
like, and like you need to slow down and take a break, or well, like you can't just keep going like this, and it's like, oh, but I should.
Yeah.
Eventually that just doesn't work anymore, but it's had its own negative impact on me, right? Like it took me a lot longer to get help for that than it did for like when I fell and injured something, because that was immediately painful.
Yeah. And that's the thing,
Exactly.
it's not that even that the pain isn't there. It's just we are so used to
Used
like
to it. Yeah.
dismissing emotional pain. And what's crazy, even from sorry, now I'm going to go on a little bit of a science tangent. I apologize, but
Wait, I love
That's
it.
all
We're
right.
so
Go
excited.
ahead.
even from a scientific perspective, right? The research has shown that emotional pain actually registers in the same areas of your brain as physical pain, right?
Yes,
So we
girl.
know this. So therefore, emotional pain literally hurts us as much, but we're so used to being able to dismiss it. And
Mhm.
and if you, it's the same thing. Like if you had a bruise and you just ignored it and you kept bumping it and bumping it, like it's going to get worse. You can't just keep pretending it's not there, because the rest of society invalidates it. And this is where validation of experiences, emotions, all that kind of stuff, that's where all my practice kind of, this is why I love each other, ultimately love each other. But I'm sorry, I just saw among the comments, Tommy mentioned something that I think is very important for us to address. Where was it? Something about
Oh,
exercise. I've lost him now. There you go. Right?
Yeah.
Exercise is crucial because that's a big part of holistic health, right? The whole body. And lots of us are so busy just going, 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 going,
Yeah.
going, going, that we don't get time to tap into ourselves. We don't have time to take care of ourselves. We don't have time to eat the right foods to make sure we're healthy. And where is wonderful April? Like there's so many ways to connect. And we feel, because of the way the mental health system is set up, it feels inaccessible. Like
Mhm.
people can, because if you can't afford a counselor or you can't get whatever, or there's fear about counseling too, to be very honest, because
Mhm.
there's a lot of, there's not, sometimes there's not, there's built-in biases that counselors have. There's not a lot of maybe cultural sensitivity sometimes. So there's a lot of barriers that make you feel like, listen, I don't want to have mental health problems because I don't want to have to deal with what's going to come from the results of me having mental health problems.
right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. I'm so glad, Sarah, that oops. I'm so
No,
glad
no, that's okay. Go ahead. Keep going.
I'm so glad, Sarah, that you brought up, the fact that people keep these mental health issues hidden for such a long time, and you just basically get accustomed to living like this. Well, through my mother's experience, I could tell you that, I knew nothing about her childhood and the trauma that she had until she was 65 years old. So, I mean,
Wow.
imagine somebody going through life 60 plus years with all of this trauma and never talking about it. I mean, that
Jeez.
that's that's extremely debilitating, not just to your not
Absolutely.
just yeah, not just to your mental health, but your physical health. So, she develops diabetes, and she's,
Yes.
drastically overweight and all of these health problems. So we have to
100%.
do something about this. So
Yep.
I'm
Man.
happy that we're doing something about this by having these kinds of LinkedIn live shows and the Freedom Fight Expo and everything that we're doing. So yes, I couldn't be more happy uh, to be in a position to do something about this.
Yeah, man, and generational baggage, right? Especially if it's not just you. You have kids and other people. That's my motivator. I'm like, you can't teach what you don't know. So if I expect my daughter to do something or I want her to have a better life, guess what? I got to figure it out. The buck stops here. We've been passing that generational baggage down forever.
Mhm.
And I'm like, somebody got to change it. And maybe I can't get it all done, but I sure as hell can move I can move the needle a little bit or a lot. And I think that's important. So real quick, guys, we got so many good, amazing people making amazing impacts. We have to show this. I know everybody, we'll get right back to the show. I promise you. But just on this, Chasing Forehand, HR4U, right? That whole transformational kitchen. It's a program that they're doing. I got to let everybody else scan this. All right, dedicated to breaking down the socioeconomic barriers in the community.
Yes.
yes,
All right,
sir.
it's a holistic program that provides culinary life and power skills training, wellness checks, community mentorship. and opportunities for living wage jobs to individuals in underserved areas. So they're not giving hand out, they're giving hand ups. And people in this community want to work, they want to be contributing members of society, they don't want assistance. And this guy and this organization is doing that.
Yeah.
Hats off to you. Because it's good enough to help people, but making people like, give them, enable them to be self-sufficient, unbelievable. That's a lot of extra work, all right, that most people aren't willing to do. So Chasen wanted to make sure people knew that you got an upcoming Feed for Good, right, event. It's a 4-hour virtual celebration featuring art, food, music, demonstrations, and talented individuals. Tickets are only 20 bucks. All right. This goes to proceeds or supporting that transformation kitchen. All right. So it's an old school style event, right? Chance to decompress, learn, unwind, kind of like this show, right? It's like happy hour. It's kind of informal, but it's a worthy cause, guys. So check it out. Go on there, scan that QR code. You can go to Chasing Forehand or HR4U on LinkedIn, YouTube, find out more information. Uh, but I just had to give this guy a shout out because he's doing great things like you guys are doing, and we had to make sure that was known. All right. And real quick, speaking of great guys, man, J. Scott Heathman, this guy, man, he's like my Yoda. All right. He's a Star Wars fan. I'm gonna say fan. But amazing guy, ran Air Force Base. It was Scott's Air Force Base, right? The colonel himself. Now he's out there helping companies, departments, man, get the EQ down, right? Get people happy, retention costs down, all that good stuff. Happy people are productive people. He knows how organizations work. Uh, Absolute great guy. I wanted to shout that because this guy's always doing stuff for people behind the scenes. That's what we do here. We push people up and we say, hey, go check out these individuals, right? Amazing things. So small companies, startups, scale ups, and established corporations, you got to check this guy out. He's a fun guy, and he's got a lot of good, really fun exercises. Again, if you're going to run an Air Force base, yeah, I'd hire that guy, right? At least give him a talk. And then we're going to be promoting this St. Jude, all right, walk run in Miami,
Nice.
September 28th. We will put this out. Check out my post on LinkedIn. We got a lot of the Hounds give back, man. I'm telling you, we just don't make money and run around and be happy. We give back, all right, and that's the point of this. So we're all putting this together. We're trying to raise $700. We could do that in 5 seconds. So let's go ahead and support that. Everybody knows St. Jude, man. Amazing things, and thank you, Rochelle Proser, for doing this, helping us out. You and Orchid Healthcare, amazing. You see what's happening here? Ain't this unbelievable?
Yeah.
That's just a fraction of what's going down in the Hounds, man. And I mean, unbelievable, man. The allies that we have and be able to push you up, and the Freedom Fight Expo and all you ladies and Jason, unbelievable. And so thanks for everybody in the comments. This is gold because we need to get awareness. And the more people on here, the more people will see this through the algorithm. So thank you so much. It's not about us, it's about pushing others up. So on that note, wow, I don't even know where to start. There's so much. All right. So when we talk about this, because this is something that I'm kind of giving them a sneak peek. Right, this is just the icing on the cake. You want to go to the event coming up, and you're going to get it. I love these events. I was so glad I showed up last time. So from the mental health perspective, all right, let's see. I had a good one, but now I got so excited. Y'all know how I am. All right,
That's okay. Take your time. Get it back. Good.
there we go. Where's April at? I need to
Take
meditate.
a breath.
I was like, yeah.
Get it back. We're not in a hurry, Mike.
I am. I want to get it all out right now. All right. So, how does trauma, or again, PTSD, trauma, the things that affect, how does it affect personal relationships?
Oh,
And what are some of the things that people can do? Right, the expo will help, but what are some things that that you guys are doing individually and collectively to address the aspect of healing when it comes from trauma and PTSD?
Ooh, good one, Mike.
yeah, that's a good
Hey,
one.
I come up every now and then.
Right.
Blind squirrel catch a nut.
So, honestly, when it comes to trauma, and it's tricky coming from, depending on which side you're coming from, right? Often people, we've learned about trauma bonding, right? We end up in relationships because they're familiar, because of our trauma, right?
Right.
And then we end up stuck in an even more traumatic experience now as a result. I've just experienced that. So yeah. and the key part truly is, again, that getting back to yourself, right? Because what happens is you don't realize how much trauma disconnects you from who you are, right? Where you start moving around with this illusion of who you think you are based on what people have been projecting on you. And unfortunately, for generations now, most of society has been traumatized people. As you said earlier, the generational aspect, right? It's been traumas passed down. And when you're dealing with trauma, like the healing process, honestly, some people it's disheartened during the process because it's not like, oh my gosh, I've got trauma. I've realized that I want it done. Okay, let me go for a few sessions and it's done. No, it's painful, you
Oh,
know,
thank you. You bright?
you know, and
Yes.
it's work and there's a constant slipbacks, but it's all about kindness to yourself. And honestly, when you start being better to yourself, it will improve your relationship with others. I know Jason is faith-based, and I have to just kind of move to the Bible here for a second. Just by chance today, I've got this new morning little ritual where I go to the Bible, go and then let it stop wherever it stops, and then read what it says. And funny you should say this. Today it came to a part about relationships, right? And one of the things that people in the alpha male territory like to talk about is women submit to your husbands, right? But when you read the whole verse, there's 3 verses telling women what to do, and there's like 9 verses telling men what to do, right? And a lot of it really comes down to, first, basically, even as you love your partner, you loving your partner as you love yourself.
Right.
So that tells you you're loving you first before you can even think about being in relation, which means you're dealing with your trauma first before you can even consider having a healthy relationship. So that's what it comes down to. A lot of times I tell people, take a break from relationships for a while. Let's get you good,
Yeah.
right? Let's get you good, and then you'll be opened up to healthier relationships.
Gum straight. I would have been like, "Oh, that's a bunch of crap," back, but I've experienced it. You're absolutely right, man. You got to put up with you 24/7, right? You
Yeah.
might have
Yeah.
friends and therapists, but you got to live alone over here. Like, and that's exactly great advice. Like how when I took personal responsibility and I realized this is how I put it. It's not eloquent like Tennille, and no accent like Tennille. So, but I
Right.
said, you know what? It dogs bark, cats meow, and people.
Mhm.
If something's happening around me all the time and I don't like it, then I got to do something about it. It's not their fault. They're doing what they do. What the hell am I doing to keep it going? Right. Like those are the kind of things that can steer your mental. Like, okay, well, if it's me and I can change it, then how can I change? What's triggering? You start asking these questions. My goodness. And then you go out there and seek help. Obviously, man, I didn't try to crack my own neck like a chiropractor. I went out there and sought wisdom.
Right.
Anything. Hey, people's like Reiki. I'm like, whatever. I just wanted to get better, right? And that's the thing. Yeah, they said, "Hey, dance around the street in a tinfoil hat."
Thank you.
Shit,
Right. At this point, it's like,
Let's do it. Yeah.
I'll eat it, I'll wear it, I'll
yeah,
whatever, if it means I'm gonna get better. Absolutely. Yeah.
amen. That
I
was
feel
my
it.
perception.
I feel it.
Yeah. So anything to add to that, Jason? You talk too much. We gotta calm you
Yeah.
down.
Well,
All the time, just
yeah.
talking.
I love to listen to people because you learn a tremendous amount just listening. But yeah, um, from the first Freedom Fight event that we had Ray Leonard Jr., the son of the famous boxer Sugar Ray Leonard, as our keynote speaker, and he opened up with a story that nobody knew in the background. If he hadn't told us at the event that this was happening, nobody would have known. But I think the atmosphere that people experience at the Freedom Fight Expo is such that um, you open up about things that are hidden when it comes to your mental health, and it's extremely healing. I mean, people came away from that event, and you could feel the Holy Spirit in the room with people as they were talking. And I mean, it's my God, it's so impactful, so inspiring. And I said, so many more people need to hear what these speakers have to say, which is part of the reason why we're doing this on a LinkedIn Live this time.
Yeah.
But he went into the story about how a close friend of his had recently died and how he was impacted by this death. And he said, "You know what, Jason? I'm not even in the right spirit to have this talk today. And I had something completely different prepared for this speech. But I just wanted to let you know that I'm being vulnerable here by sharing this story." And it kind of set the stage for all the other speakers to share what was going on with them personally as well, even though they had something else prepared for the meeting. However, for this particular Freedom Fight Expo that's coming up on PTSD and suicide prevention, I wanted everybody to basically focus on something in particular that they had prepared for their speech. So this time, everybody has a list of all of their topics and a description of what they're going to be talking about, which is going to be really, really impactful as well.
Mhm.
But Mike, let
Wonderful.
me ask you: you were in the audience at the last Freedom Fight Expo. What was your what what did you take away from that event?
Mike, let me ask you. You were in the
Oh
audience.
gosh, man, it was wow. I mean, the first of all, the vulnerability, right? People had to open up about stuff that, we live in the world that's not always kind. So the fact that people would come together, have the trust factor, and be able to open up about so many personal, intimate things was really wild. It was great, right? I got to know people I thought I knew on a deeper level. I didn't know their struggle. I didn't know their family struggle with cancer and all these things. And also seeing people form bonds. You talking about networking? My gosh, man, people were like connecting, and then me, right? The redneck connector. I'm still connecting people from that event. Like, hey, you two, and all of us need to do this, and we're putting them on shows, right? And we're collaborating. So there's so many things that can come out of this. And minimum, you're gonna make a friend. You're gonna connect with somebody who just not just likes you, but gets you. Like they went
Yeah.
through your trouble or they kind of understand it from another perspective. So that's why for me, I appreciate that question because that sense of belonging, right? And you don't, if you somebody else has been through this, you can talk to them, right? You got Sarah who's licensed in this, right? You got Tennille who's lived it and learned how to manage it, from just a regular person perspective. And you and your story, right? We all heard that. And I think I feel comfortable being around people who are like, hey, I'm here to heal because hurt
Yeah,
people, but
Yeah.
healing people heal people, right? And I think that's what it is, man. Does that make sense? What do y'all think?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
same thing. Sarah, what was your experience at the first Freedom Fight Expo? Because you were a speaker at that event.
I'm pretty sure I cried and then was like, "Are
Yeah.
you recording this?" Of course, yeah. The whole 25 minutes of it is still available on the Circle of Friends website for everybody that wants to view it. But the thing that well, I don't want to talk about any of it. Jason knows that. Like, and I already told you guys why. But all it took was 6 months, and here I am, super comfortable with it. But let me just say, like, Jason, huge factor, was somebody with lots of relational trauma. Like, it is hard for me to get comfortable and trust people. That is for sure. But, it felt comfortable. It felt okay. I felt like if anything else, Jason wasn't going to judge me for whatever I had to say. So that's what backed me up. But it was not comfortable to share about my own. I don't even remember which mental health thing I talked about myself. You'll find I'm getting more comfortable talking about all of them, but I know it was vulnerable and I know I cried. And I also talked a little bit about my faith and my walk with Jesus, which I definitely am not very like public about in my like professional space. And so I also really appreciate how Jason like beautifully kind of blends those. And so that it's comfortable for all people, like maybe no matter of your faith, but know that you are welcome here. And so no, it wasn't comfortable, but it also and maybe for me personally at that point kind of felt necessary for my healing journey to like it's going to get me down to like say it out loud, like to say it out loud to people. And probably for the first one not here, like, that's not that bad, because I tell you how many times I've heard that's not that bad. But I just told y'all one thing before this show started that happened in my childhood. And Mike said, that's effed up. And it was like one thing, y'all. And so I got like a million of those. And so for people to constantly be saying it's not that bad, and then other people appreciating the vulnerability and being like, oh dear God, or whatever, and bearing witness to that, I needed that as also part of my both my personal and professional journey of showing up authentically, and once it kind of ripped the band-aid off, there ain't got no going back. So And Mike, you know, we've had private meetings not on live. It's about the same everywhere at this point. If you see it live, you're probably going to see it if we have a one-on-one meeting too. But that's so much better for me, right? And like then I just find this aligned work too. So it was a scary experience, but wouldn't have done it if not everybody else was also there doing it. So I definitely feel like, you know, the safety in numbers thing was happening. Like everybody is sharing, everybody's being vulnerable. Okay, I can do this. I don't have to go first. Thankfully, Ray Leonard Jr. went first. And so it also felt like a good thing to share out loud for other people to see, you know, like, was it my finest speech? Probably not. And I tend to get emotional, but you know, it's there and I want other people to feel comfortable too. So I hope like what you just said, Mike, like you're there and you're like, okay, I get it now. And I know a little bit more about them, you know, like that's what everybody always wants. And anybody like me over here that has relational trauma, you ain't want to be guessing what anybody is thinking, feeling, or thinks and feels about you. You know, no, like that is danger zone for all of your shit and all of your trauma, right? And so I much prefer people to be upfront and authentic and honest from the get-go so we can get aligned with aligned and then carve out the rest and get on moving. Like you're saying, Mike, like let's get this show on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, nobody, y'all so nice, or you don't pay attention. It said Circle of Fiends Club up there for like
Yeah,
10 minutes.
because what are we?
The deal caught it. I'm not gonna. You
Fiends
can
for
probably
love and connection.
Circle of Fiends. Nobody's like whatever, man. We know who wrote that. All right. So
we didn't even
yeah,
notice it. You just told on yourself. Is what happened.
Well, again,
shows you
too,
where
and I
we're
think
at.
well, when you talk about stigma, because that's a huge problem. That's what this is all about. Entry level, like it's stigma. Well, we can't admit mistakes and we can't do this and that. Like, come on, man. What is this? Hey, the 1300s, like, you know, we need to evolve. It doesn't like somebody the other day said something. I said, listen, I cry. I don't cry over stupid stuff like over spilled milk, but like loss of a friendship, a family member, a friend. It's something wrong. For most people, that's the natural response, right? So again, I couldn't even talk about it. We lost a friend, you know, not too long ago, and you know, I'm like, wow, I'm gonna try, but I mean, yeah, I was like tissue city, man, for like 2 weeks. But if you hold that stuff in, if you go at it alone, you know, look at your life and be honest. I did this. Do you want the next 40 years looking like the last 40 years? You know, are you really happy? Because pain is pain. Stop knocking it off, right? Go out there, and this is why I love it because you're around people who are here for the right reasons. That's what I mean. That's the entry level. So, um, let me ask these because I don't want to. You know, I would keep y'all at midnight, but ain't nobody got time for that. So, um, let me ask you because when we talk about long term mental resilience, right? Go back to this. What are some key strategies, all right, that you all have picked up that people can use to build long-term mental resilience as they're on this healing path? What are some things they can do to really foster that resilience?
Self-compassion.
Yeah.
Self-compassion.
Nice.
Kindness along the way, because you're going to slip back, you're going to make mistakes. And you know, it's so funny you spoke about mistakes. I think, I don't know if you've tuned in a few times, I talk about this all the time. Celebrate mistakes, because mistakes are just an opportunity to learn. So when you realize that and you don't get down on yourself for making mistakes, then again, that resilience, and it's a healthy resilience, right? Because sometimes people mistake resilience for tolerance of like trauma, right? With like repression or something, you know, I've made it through, I've survived it, but no, resilience is growing from it, right? And the way to grow from it is to heal from it by being kind to yourself. So that's my advice: compassion, self-compassion.
Okay, I'm gonna jump on that. I like that. I'm going with that. And then I'm also gonna say stop comparing yourself to other people, good, bad, or indifferent. It's just what I mean, they say it, everybody's heard it. What, like, comparison is the thief of joy. I mean, that's it. It'll just suck the life right out of you. I mean, you can compare yourself to people that are worse off, that are better off, that are right next door. It doesn't matter. Like this, doing that. I mean, it's a killer, man. And there's so much of it, and it's so much easier with social media these days. But kind of like, you got to know, and people say this, but you really got to dig deep and know that what you're seeing is not the whole story. So it does you no good to compare to other people anyways. The only comparison you need is like this self from another self or whatever self you're trying to actualize. Where are you on your journey with yourself? Because other people are not on that same ride.
Absolutely. Jason, man of many words. You got anything? You don't have to add. I
Yeah.
got
Oh
other
no,
questions, but you
I
can.
got something.
All right.
So for this one, man, I would say adopt the mindset that, this adverse situation that happened is not happening to me, it's happening for me. God would never allow you to go through a situation where you're not able to bear it, that in the long run it'll be to your advantage that this happened. You may even be able to be in a situation where you're a blessing to other people through this situation that you experience. And that's been my case, with that whole mental health situation that I experienced with my mom. That's the whole reason why I do what I do now at Circle of Friends Club and Freedom Fight Expo. So everything that I experience, I'm able to be a blessing to other people now through those experiences. So that's the mindset to adopt in the long run.
I love it. And let me share something real quick. My daughter, she's got things. Everybody's got stuff going on, but she kind of felt, a little awkward. And I have a friend of mine. She's very successful, very, she hangs out with some of the best, and she closes big deals. And anyway, my daughter lost her little stuffed animal. She's 12, and she asked me when we were on vacation. She's like, "Dad, am I silly for being sad about a stuffed animal?" And I'm like, "Well, no, honey." So I told my friend this, and she sent her a picture of her with her briefcase, right? And her little 30 years old, right? Sitting there with her little what is it, unicorn. And you know how reassuring that was. Like, hey, this woman's successful, deals with a lot of stuff, and has a unicorn. It totally changed her mindset that I might be weird and stuff too. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, it's okay. It's more than okay. Like, don't look at it as a curse. Don't look at yourself as defective. This as a work in progress, man. It makes you special. Well, I talk too much. Well, now I get paid to talk too much. That's real fun, right? Like,
That's all.
I'm ready for that. I'm ready. I'm here.
And Mike, I loved it that you said that. That was me as a kid in school. Always, she talks too much. She talks too much. She talks always. Well, here I am, right? Still talking too much.
yeah, and we have stuff to say that other people want to hear, need to hear, and we can impact them. And again, it's not about us, but when we speak, to be the catalyst to somebody else's transformation is unbelievable. That's why I love the pack. Money and all that, great. We're building business, great. But when I was multiple times, I would share a story. Somebody was going through something, and 3 weeks later, they actually took action. And I'm going, wow, and the crap we put up with every day. All I got to do is think about that. I said, you know what? This kind of impact, because you're willing to just do what you do, put up with the crap, and I think that's the reframe. So, you guys, look, everybody's still here. It's past 8. This freedom flight is gonna explode, man. I've seen them scanning the codes. All right, so I don't want to keep everybody past midnight, so I'm wrap it up with this one. What message? All right, going back to kind of like breaking the stigma, because I think once people get that, they'll show up. Once you show up, man, that's 50% of the battle. Just show up
Yeah.
to the expo, send a DM. Keep popping
Nobody
around the
has to
corner
know
at these
you're
events.
there. We ain't gonna see you.
Yeah, they won't call you out.
Lurk in the
No,
background. That's cool. Just
yeah, thank
listen,
you for
like
that.
Jason does. Just listen. That's cool.
Jason's
Yep.
so good at that. It's amazing. I love it.
Exactly. Thank you for saying that. Nobody's gonna be like, "Hey, you hide in the corner, say something." Like, no, no, no. It's not.
No, yeah,
So,
exactly. No.
Right.
yeah, and there's subtle ways, right? There's ways that you can connect afterwards. You could DM somebody, Jason. So yeah, don't feel like this is gonna be, some meeting where you guys stand up and talk. No.
No.
That's
But
what
let me
we're
understand. Let me
doing. We're breaking the
ex-
ice for you. You can just lurk in the background and watch us just crack right through it.
exactly. And again, if we can do it, you can do it. I tell people that all the time. I'm like, and if you doubt me, look who you're talking to. You're like you're a dude in a camo hat, right? Like, if I could do it, I'd love to know your excuse, right? Like, come on. So, and again, it's not to toot my own horn. It's not my identifier. But again, what's the more manly thing to do? Hold it inside and get angry and kick a stray cat, or talk and work it out, figure it out, and but do it in a safe place. That's why I advocate for you guys, because a lot of places are not safe. and people will hurt you afterwards.
Yes.
So, everybody knows me. I'm real selective of what I put out here because I want to make sure people have the best chance. I don't want to throw, the chickens to the wolves there. So, last question. Um, well, I had the last question. What happened to it? There it is. I even typed it down because I knew I'd forget. What message would you like to send to people who are hesitant to seek help due to that stigma? What are some things that you would say to them if they're like, I don't know if I should go here. I'll be fine. Blah blah blah.
Well, for me, Mike, the biggest thing is that, if you're in a situation where you're constantly being bombarded in your mind by these negative thoughts, I'm not enough, I'm not loved. If I wasn't here, my family or my friends would be better off.
You're awesome.
If you're constantly being attacked with these kinds of thoughts on a day-to-day basis, you're not alone, first of all, and number two, that there is a way out. And we want you to be able to come to this expo and receive a holistic view of everybody's perspective on PTSD and suicidal ideation. Um, it's something that I think anybody can come in and take a part in and receive wisdom in a lot of different areas. So that's the biggest thing that I want people to come away from.
Wonderful. All right, to Neil, what message would you like to send to people who are hesitant? Maybe on the fence of taking action, showing up to this thing, or doing anything.
I would honestly just say show up, because maybe some of the questions that are leading to your hesitation may be answered, right? Because usually hesitation is not just because there's something, there's a reason why you don't want to. And maybe if you come, this will give you an opportunity to hear, right? To see that the options available. Because as I said, sometimes people don't have access simply to the healthcare system. And they think there's no other way that they can deal with whatever they're going through. And coming to this event, you'll see different perspectives from different people. And actually, I think I mentioned to you practical advice, right? We have April coming in, she's about to drop some gems in there on practical ways that you can handle, your emotional state. So I definitely think it's important, to come, for that sense of community that you spoke about, Mike, right? To see that there's many people that are, and just because they're going through something similar doesn't mean that what you're going through is minimized in any particular way. But hopefully, you can feel seen or feel heard in the messages and the stories that others are going to share.
Absolutely. Wow. Well said. Um, I have nothing to add to that because I would just mess it up. All right. So, Sarah, all right, final question back to you. All right. What would it be that you would tell people? Hey, if you're hesitant to step out and take action, show up, what's the message you'd like them to know?
Yeah, I'm going to take like showing up to do something for their mental health outside of attend the Freedom Fight Expo because I think Jason and Tennille covered that. Yes, please come, y'all. But for anybody else, for what to do, right? Okay, so I want anybody who is like unsure about something, right? I saw some things in the chat like I didn't really realize I went through that till I was 40. Yep, that's me right here. Like I always knew things were not right in my family, but I couldn't pinpoint that, to call it trauma and all of that. And that's why all of this in me today. And so if I wouldn't have, been a therapist and been in my own therapy for 20 years, I don't know where I would be. I should be dead in a gutter. I've said that to many of people. Like I should not be a functioning human being. If you knew my whole story, you would totally understand why. And the first person that suggested therapy to me was somebody in college. But what I want to say to people, if something is holding you back, I want you to pause for a second and consider if anybody around you supports that goes. Because let me tell you, in my world where I'm a therapist, like people that I know, close friends, family, one other person has been to therapy, right? One, like they do not, and like I'm not the only one who grew up in my traumatic childhood. Okay. So that right. Okay. It doesn't matter. So I want you to say, why am I not going? Just pause and ask yourself that. Is it because nobody has ever gone? Is it because there's a stigma in my own family? I can't tell you how many times people in my family called me crazy for going to therapy when they still haven't. Let's I'm not going to get into that today, but we all know that doesn't make me the crazy one. I am actively saying there is an issue. I need some help to work it out and function better. And I cannot do this on my own. And I am a therapist. I know a lot. I could talk myself into all kinds of things, but like I am not the treatment provider in the room with my therapist. I am the patient and he helps me, and honestly, the first person that ever suggested it was nobody I was related to that didn't know anything about me. I'd never even considered it. And I was like 20 years old. And thank God that they did. And then I got started when I did, because so many bad things happened after that. But I already knew this is where I needed to go to get help. My family was not going to be helpful, all of this. And so what's holding you back? Stop and think, like, do I know anybody that goes? Maybe that's what's holding me back. Because even then I didn't know anybody that goes, like definitely didn't at 20, let alone now. Of course, now I know more like in my wider world, but it's okay if it was nobody before you, and it's okay if it's nobody around you, and it's okay if you don't tell anybody about it, but you go and get the help for you.
Well said. Hey, Jason, you got anything to close us in, man? You got anything, last words?
Yeah. Again, you're not alone. And I think the most powerful thing that I could tell you is that God loves you. No matter what happened in the past, you're not stuck in your past. And, people get lost in their identity by labels like bipolar depression, PTSD, suicidal ideation. You're not your diagnosis. You can move past this. And I think that, if you come to this event, you'll see that, there are possibilities for you. Life is not over, and you can get past it.
Well said. And you said something that was funny to me because I asked Chris Rudin on the show this week, the one and only, right? And the guy's been through all kind of challenges, man. Disabilities and all these things. And I said, of all these labels, elite power lifter, blah blah blah. I said, which one do you identify with the most? And he said, I'm a person. And everybody went crazy, right?
That's
I
awesome.
was like, yeah, I know. I was like, man, I set him up good. That was softball, baby. So yeah, I appreciate it. Hey, you see the fun. Everybody, listen, invite a friend to come with you. That's the best way. If you got somebody can benefit and they're not ready to make that leap, go with them. Say, hey, I'm going to go check this out because I've
Boom.
been struggling. I'm telling
Community.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. The wisdom to know how to do better, right? The teachings, the meditations, the trauma counseling, all this, but don't minimize support. It's the same thing we do with the hounds. I mean, I'm like, hey, you get the wisdom and the know-how, but now you plug in where you can go to work, right? You got people that want to do the same thing you do. It's the same thing. So knock it off. All right, I go, right? I don't have no bones about it. I go to the country and start teaching them the Pilates and stuff. Like, I don't care anymore. And they do it. No, they do it. You know why? Because Big Country Cletus was like, man, my knees hurt. Nobody, I'm like, hey, try this. We're down. Yeah, we do some weird stuff in the country now because y'all been hanging around y'all too long. Uh, but, but,
Modernizing.
but
Modernizing out there in the country.
yeah, I'm bringing them up to the 19th century because they
There you
back a
go.
little bit. But so everybody in the comments, all the hounds, friends of the hounds, if you're not a hound, what's wrong
Thank
with
you.
you? I see people in this comment, hey, reach out. I got a group call. We talk about this. Join, all right, or just check it out. Hang out, be a wallflower. I don't care. You have an impact to make in this world. Plug into the Freedom Fight Expo. If you're struggling with stuff, and if you're a human, you probably are, plug in, get better, because the better you get, the more happy and peaceful you get, the more impact. You can do some major stuff in this world, guys, but you got to unclog yourself. And that's what these people are here for. Sarah, thank you so much. Tennille, man, you came out of nowhere. You just like popped out like a jelly bean. I was like, where did she come from? I know you've been there, but you checking us out, making sure we wasn't, because everybody's been screwed by someone and no one trusts
And she
anyone.
has probably some past trauma and eases into new relationships. I get you, Tennille. Yeah,
And that's
we know.
okay. That's what I'm
That's
saying.
right. That's what we're trying to say here. Everybody, it's okay.
Yeah.
We get it.
It's okay. Have fun, right? Plug in, just check us out. Say, oh, I don't believe this. And then 2 months later, you pop out like Tennille did, right? So, hey, have fun. I'm just joking with you, Tennille. I know you're good. But seriously, guys, have fun. We'll be on the next week. I got a special guest next week. I'm not going to tell you. You just got to pop in and see it. Same time, same channel. I will see you at Freedom Fight September 20, 21st, and 22nd, right? Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yes, sir.
Scan the QR code, connect with Jason Wilson. And again, this is not a religious thing and all this stuff. Listen, we're here to help people. All right. We believe in God, but we don't care. We want people to be healed. All right. Here, come in, plug in. Don't worry. It's not weird. This is weird. I wouldn't be doing this. Okay. So have fun, guys.
Same.
Appreciate you all. Yeah, love you guys, man. Have a good one. We'll roll the outro and we'll see you on the next one if I can find the button. There it
Take
is.
care.
All right, Princess Wave. Thank y'all for stopping by. Be sure to follow, share, and like, and send me a message if you had fun today. Y'all come back now.